Okay, Arthur Barnett with Whitaker Plumbing, medical gas licensed journeyman. What we're going to do is show where to cut this off if you're in a situation of emergency. This will be your main valve. That will be your shut off. Here's your shut off here also. Your main breaker will be your shut off also on electrical. What question?
So what's an example of an emergency where you would have to shut that off?
The vacuum pump wouldn't be a dangerous situation other than maybe a fire or something like that. Small electrical fire or something hot on the motors.
Okay.
Main thing would be to shut your power off at this panel here.
Okay, and for servicing to replace the filters, what needs to be shut down? If anything.
Power first. Shut your power off. And since this is more of an accessible valve, just shut your valve off here.
Okay, so both of the valves serve the same purpose. You don't have to shut them both off.
Correct.
Okay.
But our valve that we supply is your main 2-inch valve up here. Now this is your equipment valve, which would be your more accessible valve.
Okay.
You shut off here. We need to go back to the manufacturer's recommendation on anything that you might need to drain down.
And so the control box, just for clarification, Whitaker did not do. That was done by Quintec?
Yes.
Okay.
All
So
this
any
is
questions surrounding this, like a key or anything, alarm reset, alarm silence needs to go to Quintec?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
Now, swapping out your bottles, that should be Red Ball. Should come in and replace your bottles, hook everything back up. Your main valve in here also is going to be this valve. It's just a 1/4 turn ball valve. It does have a locking on it, so you have to lift it up to turn it and shut it off. So it would be a lot quicker than doing your 2 valves on the side. But this is your valve. You can lock it out if you need to. This is your medical air. It does have an exhaust that's pulling air out of this room, which is not critical because it is medical air and it's not harmful.
Okay.
Now, above this access panel are your oxygen, your medical air, and your vacuum hospital valves that are just for the owners of the hospital to shut off for maintenance or any other. Again, you have your separate valves to turn off would be in here. Not recommended to turn anything off being the oxygen. If there was an emergency shut off, you do have your main valve right here would be more accessible in a situation where you needed to turn it off before you used your valves in the ceiling. Your exhaust, which is getting rid of any extra oxygen, goes out and over the doors outside of the building. You do have an exhaust fan that's pulling out any oxygen that's in this room.
And where is 100% exhausted to the roof or outside?
Now, this has a fan on the roof.
Okay.
You have your gauges that are showing from your panel up here in the ceiling. Tells you how much you're putting out of your main box. Anything else should be picked up on your main alarm and your nurse's station alarms.
Okay. And what's it reading right now?
You're in the green at about 57, looks like, pounds per square inch. And again, red balls should be the ones that come in and do their changeovers. This is a new panel that's just come out. It has your main, your secondary, the two balls here, your primary, secondary, and then your high pressure bottles is last resort. So if you get alarms on your primary and your secondary, you'll have just so much time with your high pressure to get those replaced.
And so the system is designed to make the switch.
Without any interruptions.
Okay.
And you had mentioned that you're going to have one of them replaced already.
It should be here today.
Okay.
Just for anybody who's watching, when Red Ball came out, they said you really can't base everything on this gauge in the readout, that oftentimes these gauges aren't completely accurate. So he just said, you know, check it, see if it feels like it's getting empty, and at that point, just to verify in case the gauge is not working, not functioning.
When it switches over, say these two are empty and it switches over, I'm not sure which one it's going to show up on. But it should alarm and automatically go to your backup if your two here are empty. So that's another thing that Quintech might go over with you on this panel.
Okay, so I noticed we've got a fault on that output. Is that, what do you think is causing that?
Probably it's showing you to replace, so that might be.
Okay. But Quintech installed this as well?
No, we install everything, but they're more suited to explain anything about these panels. They buy the panels and then they send them us and we install them.
Okay.
We have the master panel, which is in, what is this ring called?
Plant operations.
In your plant operation. It's got to be monitored 24 hours a day. If not, you have another master alarm panel that's at a nurse's station, which is also monitored. It should give you any warning of a problem in any area of this hospital. If there is an alarm and the noise is bothering you, you can mute it with your mute button. You cannot control anything from here. It's just a warning that you're going to get, and then you just address it from there. This is your second master alarm in your nurse's station. This is your zone valve box alarm.
So it needs to be noted that if it does go into alarm, this one and the one in plant operations are independent units. So in order to silence the alarms, you have to silence here and then go back to plant operations and silence there as well.
Correct.
And this is really only applicable to night shift
Robin, whose last name is?
and weekend.
It's gonna be separately zoned for each individual hallway. And their pressures.
So, Jeff, so what we talked about is how in hospitals we have to label the shutoff valves in terms of what areas they serve. And so we'll just simply take this information and put it on each shutoff valve. And so the staff knows, or the fire department knows, in the event of an emergency, if I've got a fire in room 107, where's the panel to shut that off? And so that's the purpose of that.
Now this is where you have your rooms labeled and your oxygen, medical vac, it's also labeled. If in an emergency, you just pull the panel out, turn off that certain valve. It's a quarter turn ball valve.
And then put today's date.
You just pull it straight out.